You know, we're gonna pop in Mondays. I know we go live. First off, I hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day, or Love Day as we call it, and was able to really spend time with the people they care about and appreciate. You know, as everybody knows, we're a platform, we're a webinar that we don't just provide information. We want people to enact with the information. So if you are on Zoom with us, you raise your hand, you can be a panelist, and then you can, you know, join the discussion. I mean, we are gonna teach and do what we do best, you know, teach accountable relationships, but at the same time, we want people to really engage. So,
absolutely.
So let's start. Today's topic is, as we already mentioned for Darrell, but we'll repeat ourselves. Today's topic is, what is the incentive in being faithful in 2021? And, you know, we can talk about the negatives. We can talk about how, you know, it's a microwave society and we all on Instagram and Facebook and social media. And a lot of people feel like the commitment has fallen to the wayside. But we want to talk about, you know, what's the incentives? Like, what do we have to look forward to when it comes to being faithful in a relationship? So at first we want to ask our panelists, obviously, to define our terms. We want to ask them, what does it mean to be, when you hear being faithful in a relationship, what do you think of?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Take a stab at it.
To be faithful in a relationship is to be everything that you agreed to be, to be in alignment with the union and anything that goes with its prosperity. Pretty much just working towards the common goal, whatever that is for your union.
Okay, Darrell?
Yeah, I agree with Mahogany. Definitely whatever that goal is, because people have different goals and different perspectives and different things they want to accomplish in life. But I definitely agree with as far as whatever you all come to grips with is what y'all want to attain, doing everything possible to attain that common goal. You know, and obviously the faithfulness, you know, you're committing to one person, you know, you're you know, it's a lifetime, in my opinion, it's a lifetime commitment to whatever y'all want to do. But definitely establishing that common goal and doing everything possible to attain that common goal.
Yeah, so, I mean, we agree with what both of y'all said. I mean, the only thing we would change a little bit is the fact that, and we did discuss this in our bio, and we discussed how, you know, when we think of commitment, we typically think of just, when we think of romantic. Being faithful, think of romantic, we think of being faithful and not betraying a spouse. But really, you can be unfaithful to your friends, you can be unfaithful to your children, you could actually be unfaithful to yourself. Because like Mahogany said, it's all about a promise and a commitment and honoring your word. So how we would define being faithful in a relationship is our ability to honor the agreement in the relationship, which Mahogany said, and actually building roles and matching those roles with the same level of commitment. So if you sign on, we'll give y'all the second part because I believe Mahogany did a good job of explaining the first part. But the second part is important because obviously in a relationship, we come in, we have a variety of people that we're in relationships with, and we fulfill or fill certain roles in their life and bring them joy in different ways based on what they need, based on what they want in their lives from us and what we can provide. When you have them agreements and you're honoring those commitments, you first have to understand what's your roles. What is your role in this relationship? And what did you sign on for to be committed to for the long haul? And when I say matching levels, some people understand that, you know, someone's a leader or someone has a more outgoing personality. So, you know, they understand that they may be on most of the time. And at the end of the day, the other person says, you know, I'm going to really honor that, really respect that, really respect where you're strong at, and ask them to respect where they're strong at. If you wake up one day and you falling short, you got to understand it happens to all of us, but express it. Don't just expect people to understand that you're falling short, because that's not what you signed on for. So it's something as small as that, is believing that you are entitled to a bad day without explaining it and without having a discussion before you have the bad day. Something as small as that can be being unfaithful. That's a small, you know, detail of being unfaithful. What would you think, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Or you signing up for a relationship, not really knowing exactly what it entailed. And you realize that you bit off more than you can chew. And then now you want to change the structure of the relationship. And, you know, as long as you should be able to have the conversation, but the person signed up for the person that put their best foot forward. So that's being unfaithful within that relationship as well, because you had the person thinking that they were going to get one version of you and they got another version of you. So that's another way of being unfaithful.
Definitely. I want to add that, you know, it's big on building your relationships around strong core values. I think a lot of people get into relationships, well, I know a lot of people get into relationships without strongly building those core values up and saying, okay, this is who I am as a person, that won't budge. We get too caught up in things changing, differences, things happening. And in 2021, excuse me.
2021, yeah.
2021, yeah, I'm still there, right? We have all the technology and all information in our hands. And it's up to us to utilize that information to understand, like, we are signing on for relationships to be fully invested. And having that understanding is, what do we invest into? Our core values. You know, if a person's saying, I'm going to be honest, I'm a loyal person, that's something that's expected throughout the relationship, loyalty. If a person says, you know, I'm a person who's accountable, it's expected throughout the relationship for you to be accountable. If a person, go ahead, Jerry.
I was gonna say, or I mean, you're talking about all the positives, which is great, but it could also be a person that doesn't believe in accountability. That's what they don't believe in it. That's their core value. Like your core values are what you set them. Is what you believe in, and then you have to find people that also believe in the same thing. And it could be something just as simple as that. They don't believe in accountability. They don't believe that they should have to consult with their friends, their family, their spouse to do things. That could be a belief of theirs. And if they do believe that, and you believe the opposite, it probably isn't going to work. But you have to both, in order for you guys to have a understanding, you guys have to both believe in the same thing.
Definitely. I mean, they do have to definitely believe in the same thing. When it comes to core values, they're all positive. It's what's positive about you. It's what allows you to flourish. You keep.
But what I'm saying is, like,
secrets is an agreement that can happen. Like, we could all say we're going to keep secrets. We could all say, okay, I'm not going to share everything.
But they could also think that but people pride themselves on certain on those things as well. So they may believe that is something positive. I don't have to tell everyone everything.
Definitely, they may think it's a positive, but we know it's not. So we want to explain to people that a core value is something that will enhance your relationships. Keeping secrets is not going to enhance your relationship at all. You know, being transparent is a big part of saying that I'm in a commitment and I trust the people I'm committed to actually honor the fact that I am going to be transparent and not to use my information against me. You know, so I mean, we want y'all to chime in. What do y'all think when it comes to being faithful in the climate we live in now?
I mean, now what I was going to say was because y'all basically said most people, when you think about being faithful, they think about like romance. And that's definitely came to my mind. Like, as far as me, and y'all know I was previously married before. So being faithful in my marriage was obviously like I thought about romance a lot. But I mean, I was also a kind of person, and I'm being transparent right now. Like I was also a kind of person where I felt like sometimes I didn't have to tell this person everything, or I didn't have to like say everything. I'm obviously different now, but I also see how not being fully transparent with a spouse or being fully transparent with a person who I'm supposed to be committed to, I see where the breakdown is there. I'm obviously a different person now, but I know I don't, but I'm sure I speak for a lot of people, especially guys, when they say like, I don't want to tell this person every little thing about me or tell this person everything that's going on in my life. You know what I'm saying? It took me a while to open up like that. But I also feel like now, that I'm a little bit more mature now, you can't be in a committed relationship if you're not willing to be fully open and honest with somebody. I don't think it could work.
I mean, why would you say you felt the need to keep secrets in the first place? And then, I mean, you mentioned it's a male thing. Why do you think it like?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Yeah, why is it a male thing?
So maybe I should backtrack my words and not say a male thing. Maybe it's just a Darrell thing. But
no, I mean you.
No, I mean you. I'm sure that there's other guys that you're around that probably believe in the same thing, which is why you believe that.
So, yeah, I want to understand where you're coming from.
I mean, I don't really know. Maybe it's how I was raised, and it's kind of subconsciously or was subconsciously embedded in me. But just through my experiences going through life and relationships, I definitely feel now, that I'm almost 36 years old, that there's no way that I can be, having a committed relationship with someone and not being fully transparent, not being fully open and honest with somebody.
So you believe that over the years that the more to have the best relationship with another person, you have to be fully transparent.
100%. I mean, that's what I believe now. I'm not saying I believe that fully when I was younger or in previous relationships, but now, definitely. You have to be fully transparent with someone in order for things to work.
I think that there's a level of with immaturity, there's a level of selfishness that you don't even identify as selfishness. It's just there. Mm-hmm. And I can agree that the younger me felt the same way, but it wasn't a thing where I felt like I was holding things from. It was just like, well, I gotta explain everything and right. break everything down. That's the mindset, right? Mm-hmm. But that's coming from a mindset of independence, separate, being separate, mm-hmm. being about me, right? Mm-hmm. And when you start sharing life, space, when you start saying like it's a us thing, yeah. there's no room for that. Mm-hmm. There's no longer room for that. And that's where the breakdown comes, because if you're calling yourself joining with someone or a few people, whatever your scenario is, if you're joining with, then blind spots are problematic. And as you grow, you understand that. But as a youth, I didn't understand that. It was just like you being nosy. You know what I mean? That's how you look at it. It's like nosy. I don't need to say every little thing. Some things you should just know just because you know me and you believe these things. But how do you know me if I'm not giving you all of me? How I'm not revealing all of me? I'm expecting you to know things that I'm not giving or putting in the forefront. So I agree with Darrell, like that comes from, a youthful stage mentally. And I don't think that it's necessarily, for me, it wasn't necessarily being purposeful with keeping things from, because I never really had secrets. It was just like, I just didn't feel the need to tell like everything. It's like, well, I got to run through my whole day with you. Like, well, I got to, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now I understand it, but I didn't understand it then. And to get back to the subject, in regard to faithfulness in 2021, like how does that change? How does the time change faithful? When I hear the word faithful, I think of loyalty. that doesn't change. It's a foundation. It's a goddamn principle. Like the time doesn't change the value of it. Like
the time shouldn't change the value, but because we have instant gratification all around us, it does change. Like people believe that they don't even have to leave their house to know that they have options. You know what I mean? Or to believe
but I have options too. My point is
I'm not
the mindset.
I agree with you when it comes to it being a principle, but we will be a fool to think that, yes, we do think of it. It is a principle, but in 2021, yeah, what is the incentive when it doesn't seem as if everyone is preaching individuality, or people are not really fostering, healthy and accountable relationships. And there's all this, stuff on, you can connect with anybody at any time, anywhere, at any given time. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is your incentive of making sure that you are forging the relationships with the people that you should be forging the relationships with?
So if I can chime in real quick.
Go ahead.
Nah, so basically the way I'm looking at this question is like, I know Darrell in 2015, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, and 20. All my experiences in those years are going to help me make better decisions in 2021. That's the way I'm looking at it. There's definitely highs and lows in my life that I've been through as far as relationships in those years. There are definitely things that I'm going to do a lot different in 2021 because of the past experiences that I had in those years before.
Definitely. I mean, and if we're being honest, there's just a lot of fail safes for people not to be faithful. We really invest we really truly invest in reform. Mm-hmm. So everybody who is walking on the straight and narrow, they look like they're robots and they don't really have a
militant
or they, like we don't cherish it like we used to cherish somebody that's actually, you've been faithful 20 years. Now it's like, wow, how you gonna be faithful 20 years? That's crazy. One woman, one man, that's crazy. So we do understand the world we're living in, but at the same time, and not saying that it wasn't always that way, and not saying people just are getting caught a lot more, or, there's a lot more transparency because of social media. We can say that also. But at the end of the day, we want to say in 2020, because it's so fresh and because it's so new, find the incentives in being faithful. Let's have a discussion about why we should be faithful. And that's where our question comes from. What's the incentive? We want to have incentives.
That's what I was getting to. So first off, it's 2021.
2021. What did I say?
2020 again.
2020.
2021, excuse me.
I'm saying for me, I wasn't speaking for everyone else. I'm speaking for me.
Okay.
That's why I said, time doesn't change principles. Like a grounded foundation is a grounded foundation, no matter when the hell it happens, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's there, right? So the 2021 for me doesn't change the value of faithfulness, right? Definitely. And the way that I think, the incentives are the same incentives. Like if we're talking about romantic, hello, I don't want to catch diseases, right? That's an incentive for me to keep myself where myself belongs, right? Mm-hmm. And the same with you, right? So like there's always been incentives when you love yourself. You know what I mean? Like the point is self-preservation as well as preserving your relationships. That in itself is the value. That in itself is the incentive to me.
Definitely. I mean, it's beyond you. I mean, you don't have to say you, because I think what you're saying is valuable to a lot of people. And when you're teaching, it's beyond you. You know what I mean? When you're teaching a principle and something that people can really truly learn from and actually enhance their life with. It's not just a you thing, it's a us thing. And you're just waiting for people to catch up. So, you know, what you said was very important. It is a principle and it is a us thing. You know, we do get focused. Like at this point, we're very insensitive if we do not focus on the individual. And as we say, like, it's cool to understand a person's story, but the whole point in having a friend and the whole point in having a spouse is so we can build our story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we spend too much time talking about his story and her story and why they're not doing this and why they're not doing that, when we need to get back to what is going to be our story. What are we trying to do as a friend, as a friendship? What are we trying to do as a partnership? What is the destination? So I'm not even saying like, and I agree with Mahogany wholeheartedly, but I'm gonna go a step further. It's a spiritual understanding. Like when you actually come together, the incentive is building something and leaving something behind.
Well, like that's what Jasmine says, like faith, well, to sum up what she says, faith isn't a destination, it's a journey. It takes daily steps of true communication, honesty, priorities, and commitment. And that's with every relationship, not just your romantic ones.
Definitely. So, you know, we 100% agree that the incentives should be obvious, but to some degree they're not obvious because, you know, we're being taught to be secretive, and we was all taught to some degree, regardless of what household we grew up in, to keep household stuff. So we were really taught to really be secretive and really not share other people's secrets and really, you know, keep parts of our lives separate. And not taught that being unfaithful is actually not having a clear understanding that everybody you come in contact with and everybody you decide to be in a committed relationship with, they merge. They are connected. They are interconnected. Because if something happens to you, it happens to them. Nobody I care about, nobody I decide to commit to, nobody I love, something negative can happen to, and I'm okay with it.
Right. True story.
So when are we going to start now having a clear understanding that it's not our life, but our life? If you're following me, it's not about me and I. So when we're talking about being faithful, we're talking about a mentality that I'm going to honor a principle, a word. I'm going to honor our union. I'm going to honor our friendship before I have a selfish desire. At all times. Is this, before I take this next step, is it going to affect my relationships in a positive way, or is it going to reflect my relationships in a negative way? And let's just allow the incentive to actually be what it is. The fact that you maintain accountable relationships, which, as to what Mahogany was saying, it should be enough. It should be enough to know that you have somebody stable around you and somebody that's dependable around you to actually hold you up. So, what are you thinking, Darrell? Because I see you sitting, rocking back and forth. So what's going on in your head?
No, I mean, I'm listening to what Mahogany is saying, and I'm listening to what y'all are saying too. So all I can speak on is me and my maturation. I definitely struggled with the we thing. I definitely struggled with that. When you're on your own for so long and you're used to looking out for yourself and being accountable for yourself, and it's all about you. And then you put yourself into a situation where that's no longer it, and you have to worry about someone else, and you're supposed to build a foundation together, and it's a we thing. I mean, I think when you're on your own for so long, that's hard to do. And I'm just speaking from my experience.
Definitely.
Now I'm a little bit more mature, but I definitely struggled with that, and it obviously, it definitely revealed itself when I was married, at the time. So just coming from someone who's been through a marriage before, and now that I'm out of that situation, the next time around, I definitely understand what a foundation needs to look like what the we needs to look like, building things together. Like, I understand that now. And I think, I'm speaking from a male's perspective, we kind of get ourselves in trouble when you rush into a situation and you're still, on that selfish tip and you're not ready for that we tip. And I think a lot of people put themselves in those kind of situations and are not ready for a we foundation.
I mean, what would you tell your married self now?
You have to be selfless. If I was to talk to my 29-year-old self, I would tell myself, you have to be selfless. You have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to, number one, you have to, establish your core principles. I don't think I had those when I even got into that situation. Now that I have my principles, I would never put myself into a situation with a person who doesn't share my same core values because it won't work in the first place. Mm-hmm. Establish your principles and go from there, because of you establishing your principles, your circle will weed itself out by itself. Having your core principles will, incite having those around you that share your similar interests.
I mean, those are good things. Hindsight, I guess you can apply to your new relationships as you move forward. A lot of times, people they want the marriage or they want the friendship, but they don't really want to do the work in between.
Absolutely.
So it's like kind of like a checklist to check something off your list. And when it comes to friends, like, no one really, you learn as an adult that everything in your life has a priority. You may have your plate full, so you may not be able to handle any new friends, right? But nobody really has those, like, when I know growing up, like, my dad never really had that conversation with me about priorities on friends. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things that you kind of learned over time. And as you start to create relationships with one group of friends, you realize that your relationship with the other group of friends kind of starts to fade because you no longer have the time. But nobody talks about that. But as you get older, you realize that, with the responsibilities that you have with the kids and the significant other and whatever friends you do have at the moment, you realize that everything is a priority. And I cannot take on another friend right now because I really don't have the time to do that. I cannot take on a relationship right now because I'm dedicated to work and I don't have the time to be in a relationship right now. But people want to check certain things off their list, like being a parent or being married, and they fast track through it. And then they end up with the kid and they're not really all the way happy, or they end up married and realize that they got married for the wrong reasons.
I definitely can attest to that.
I mean, let's take it a step further. When I was getting ready to have my child and like planning to have a child, I actually sat down and talked to Jerry about it before I decided to have the child, because I know it's going to affect our lives and our ability to just hang out and our ability to just go and come as we please anytime we want. It's going to affect our time. And before I changed our relationship by bringing a child in, I had to make sure that we was in a good place and we was all in agreement before I could actually move forward with my child. A lot of people ask, like, how you going to ask your friend if you could have a child? It's not asking if I could have a child. It's bringing in the process of having a child, because if I have an unknown and I have to lose a known commodity to have the unknown, I'm really thinking about what I'm giving up, because Jerry has the right to say she doesn't want to do it again. Like, she doesn't want to be a full participant, or she doesn't want to be around a person with a young child. So she does have the right and the choice, and she shouldn't be guilted into staying in a relationship she really didn't sign up for. But once now I renegotiate the terms of relationship, she signed on for it. She understood, like, there's times that I'm going to be up all night, and there's times that I can't dedicate to the relationship like I once did. She's still a strong priority and a high priority. But at the end of the day, we have to be honest. Like, our friends are our support. And when I'm having a hard day or I need to call up about something regarding my child or my son, she's there to support me where I need it. Mm-hmm. So we can listen to the outside world and tell us who we shouldn't be telling and who shouldn't dictate our lives. But we have a clear understanding that our friends were there to help us through it and to build this life together. probably in most cases before we even had a spouse. So we have to keep them in the loop and make sure that when we have a group or we have a team, when we add anybody or any person or even a child to that team, make sure all of us are aligned. So it's not taken from what we built. Can you imagine building a building and tearing it down in one day?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to make a decision, because you were told that every decision you make you can make it as yours, as if it doesn't affect other people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to what you were saying, like, yeah, the support is different. So our friendship changed. The things that you may have needed my support on would transfer over to the fact that you do now have a baby. And so things, I have to wrap my head around that. Like, yeah, do I want to be able to be the third babysitter? You know what I mean? Like, do I want to, take the baby on play dates? Like, I may not want to do that at the age that I was, or the fact that my child is grown. She's not grown, but she's older. You know what I mean? Like, I passed the baby stages. So yeah, people think it's really crazy, but it really allowed for us to be able to, like you said, not reinvent our friendship, but basically change the dynamic of our friendship based on the fact that now we have a baby around, soon to be toddler, soon to be school age. You know what I mean? Like, the things are going to change. Like, we can't just get up and go at any time. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just say, we want ice cream. It's like, damn, we have to pack the baby bag, the this, the that. You know what I mean? Or somebody has to stay back. Like, it's not the same anymore. And you have to be okay with that, or not be okay with that. Like,
I mean, children, let's be honest, children are a strong relationship killer. I mean, we build relationships.
Yeah.
We talk about accountable relationships, but truly being accountable in relationships is giving choice and getting a clear understanding of what you're getting into.
Absolutely.
Even as a couple, like as a couple having a child, it changes your relationship. And if you're not prepared for what's to come, there's going to be a lot of moments where you might not cheat, but you're unfaithful because you're not keeping the person abreast on what's going on with your life, with your thoughts, whether you're struggling or not with the no sleep and the raising the child and the instilling principles in the child. Like, it's a daily discussion. And anybody that had young children understand that it's a daily discussion. Anybody that have young children understand that when you have a village, you can do a whole lot more than when you're a single parent. So when it comes to being faithful to your relationships, we're talking about anytime you're adding anything new into your relationship, keep everybody close and keep everybody up to speed on what's going on. We see unfaithful as this grand idea of just destroying a relationship. But we don't look at the little things we do on a day-to-day basis that eat away at the relationship. That's what we don't see.
Yeah.
So what's the incentive? When a lot of people are saying, oh, well, you just don't have to say that. And you're entitled to this and you're entitled to that. But once you're entitled to everything as a single person, but once you sign on, like, they're entitled to certain things now. So they're entitled to your honesty. They're entitled to your communication. They're entitled to all these things. So when you think about it, who's entitled to what when they clash? You got a promotion at work. I'm entitled to take the job. You didn't consult with your partner. You told the boss yes before you went home and consulted with your partner. Think about that. Changes the amount of time y'all spend. It's a life-changing situation.
The thing about it is, like, money is one of those things that
everybody go crazy about, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things that is not even your job. Like, your job just thinks that they're doing you a favor by promoting you and giving you more responsibility and give you extra money, that they don't ask you, like, hey, like, I know in every promotion I received, no one asked me, hey, do you want to move up? It was just like, congratulations, we have this new role for you. And they tell you how much it is. And it's like, you got a new job, you know what I mean? And it's another thing that you tell somebody else, like, hey, you know, I want to go for this job, or I want to go for this promotion, and everyone around you is supposed to understand because it's more money. And how could you come between more money? How could you tell me not to take on an additional job because it's going to take away from the family, but it brings us more money, right? And it took me a long time to realize that you have to really figure out what your priorities are. Like, are you chasing money? You know, as Drastic said last year, like, are you chasing the bag, or are your priorities your family? And you want to make money, but as long as it doesn't take away from your time with your family, because that's what more money, more problems, more money, more responsibility. Are you willing to put in those extra hours because now you got this promotion, or you don't want to take that promotion because you know that, you know, family's first, and I want to be there when my kid has a soccer game, or they get picked up from school, or I can leave early, or, you know, I have a flexible, my schedule is a lot more flexible because I have just amount of responsibility, not enough where I'm like holding, like where it's expected for me to be working around the clock. But again, you ask anyone about the job versus taking the promotion and family, most people would say, take the job. And understand that you work more hours, that you work X amount of hours, and that you're putting in that type of work because it's for money.
I mean, I've been in that situation before, you know what I'm saying, where I got promoted to a different position, and yeah, it was more money. Yeah, it was more responsibility, but I didn't consult with the person I was with. And that was a mistake. I mean, at the end of the day, this person knew my goals and, you know, why I was in school and, you know, where I wanted to be, but I didn't consult with that person, and that put a strain on the relationship. So I definitely understand that, Jerry, as far as consulting with your spouse or consult with your significant other.
But we're not even groomed to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even something that is just money trumps all. You know what I mean? Like, we're not even groomed to even do that. It's kind of crazy until you sit back and think, like, yeah, what type of parent I want to be, what type of spouse I want to be, like what type of friend I want to be, and how does this job influence that? How does this job take away or add to that? And those are the questions you have to ask yourself before you take on any additional responsibilities. And then you have to be okay with not taking a certain level, not being promoted, and your boss thinking that you're an underachiever, and that's frowned upon in the workplace as well. You know what I mean? But you have to be okay with that and also own that and say, like, yeah, being in the highest position here and having a six-figure salary is not really a priority of mine. I want to make whatever I make right now and be able to have the time to spend with my family, and that should be okay as well.
See, I feel a little different. Anyone I'm dealing with, before we even get that serious, they know what I do for a living right now and where my goal is and where my priorities are. Now, I'm not saying that she's not, or the family would not be in my priority, but I have a goal that I've been striving for since I was 21, and I'm almost there. You know, if that opportunity comes, I'm taking it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me, though.
Well, that's your priorities, and you put it out there. So you're giving whoever you're dealing with choice. And that's what it's all about. I can say, I don't want to mess with Darrell because he's going to be working and going to school and doing this, that, and the third. And I want a man who's going to be present. I want a man that I get off at 5:30, he gets off at 5:30, and we're both off and we can enjoy each other. Like, but because you're giving whoever you're dealing with choice, is up to them to decide, hey, Darrell may be the guy for me. He may not be the guy for me. But just know that because you put everything out there, you may have women that's just like, I'm not dealing with Darrell because you just have a lot going on, and I want a man who's has a little bit more free time.
Definitely.
Hi, hi guys.
Hi, Joe.
What's up?
I was in a similar situation, but in opposite terms. When I met my wife, I told her, hey, I'm a working man. I'll work 15 hours a day, 20 hours a day, do whatever I have to do to take care of my family. And she accepted that. Then I turned 57. I don't know if we've talked from this time. In September, I retired.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's working her butt off, but she's working from home, which is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally get to spend time with my family, and that was the biggest thing with me. I never really spent time with my son. I never really spent time with my 6 daughters, but now I'm able to be with them and play with them, and even though they're older, and do different things with them, go away with them because I'm not working anymore. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. But now I'm seeing my wife and me with her working all the hours that she's working, and I accept it. I don't mind being the house man, doing the dishes and doing the bathroom.
House husband.
Yeah, the house husband, and I love it.
With that, brother.
I actually love it.
Yeah, definitely.
How you doing, Darrell?
What's up, brother? How you?
I'm blessed.
I'm saying, like, we're not saying that don't accept these roles. We're talking about community.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All it's about is having a discussion. Anytime you're unsure, have the discussion. Anytime you think in some way, have a discussion. Anytime you're ready to make a move and you don't know if it's going to affect your relationships, have a discussion. That's all we're saying.
And give people choice.
If you let people know ahead of time, then it's okay. It's okay that that's your ambition. That's okay that that's what you want to do. Understand, based on your moves, other people are going to make decisions.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They believe they're supposed to get their cake and they're supposed to eat it too.
Or just know, like, if, like, I'm going to use you as an example, Darrell. But just say, like, you're working and you have all these things going on because you have this goal. And while you're doing that, now I have gaps of time where I can do me, right? And when you are finished with all of that, I may have to either pivot and make room for you, or I could continue to do my own thing still because I had the flexibility to do so because you were chasing your goals. Are you going to be okay with that?
I would have to.
What it's about.
I mean, at the end of the day, y'all appreciate communication, which I think is great. You have to communicate. But to answer your question, Jerry, so it's basically what you're saying is, what if I'm chasing this goal, and then you pick up a I want to call it a hobby or something.
Whatever. I could be, every time you're doing something after work, I'm going to yoga, I'm going to spinning, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I have new friends. I start to take classes myself.
Yeah.
Girl, you better spin on and go to school.
I'm saying it is tough when it's on the other foot. It is tough where you fully invested and you have ambition and things of that nature. Like, one thing I do is, since I was like a young kid, man, I don't know if everybody noticed about me, but I've been watching love stories. I don't know if I missed the love story yet, but that's who I am, about relationships, studying relationships, understanding relationships, talking about relationships, and watching love stories. And I see what's out there is you have to accept that I'm ambitious. Excuse me. You have to accept that I have ambition. But at the same time, you hear people say this is a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm saying to myself, isn't this person a once in a lifetime person?
That's
deep there.
Wow.
That's deep.
So you're trading a once in a life. I watched so many people, and after watching one love story after the next love story, and watching people in real life, and they're chasing and chasing and chasing things. And I'm like, you're leaving behind. And every time, what are they looking for? They're missing the person.
Yep.
At the end of all of it.
They realize that the job wasn't it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Or they want to go back and now ask the person, can we be friends again? The person doesn't have the same room.
Mm-hmm.
You chased. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to be ambitious. What I'm saying is, make sure that you are aligned with people that share that ambition. Make sure that you're clear on what you want, because once you agree to something and then you pivot, it changes everything. I can roll with anybody that tells me, listen, like, let's say with Darrell, he's like, listen, I have ambition. I want to chase this. I want to chase that. I want to chase this. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a participant in you chasing it. I'm going to research it for you. I'm going to make sure I back you. I'm going to make sure I'm there for you. And then you're like, yo, listen, I don't even want to do this anymore. I'm as invested as you now. So now your dream became our dream, and you pivoted on me, which is another sign of being unfaithful. But you're looking at me like that was my dream, but I put in the work with you. And you decided to pivot after we put in all that work together. You got to understand, we have a heartbeat, but it's connected to other people's heartbeats.
Yes, it is. Amen.
And you lose track of that. You lose track of what it means to be faithful. And like Mahogany said, in any era, in any day and age. But since we're hearing now, we have to now make sure that we're clear on what being faithful is. It's committing to a promise and honoring that promise. So yeah, I would encourage you to surround yourself with people that share your same ambition. And if they don't have that ambition, they invested in your ambition. Because I don't really always believe everybody has to be. Some people just want to actually. They're ambitious about being parents. Mm-hmm. They're ambitious about being wives and husbands. And I mean, I was one of them. So I understand what it is. But at the same time, when other people have outside ambitions and they telling you they have those outside ambitions and you're with it, be all in. That's all anybody asks for a person being faithful. Once we sign an agreement, honor your agreement, be all in. And the incentive would be building something that can't be torn down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking that to my dream tonight.
We see you like almost halfway there, though.
No. It's the way I'm laying. It's the way I'm laying.
So I'm saying, like,
we're just happy to have you back, Joe.
Definitely. So I just want everybody to really think about what's the incentives, because we could have sat here for an hour and just talked about everybody that's not doing, and everybody that's stepping out, and everybody that's doing wrong, and everybody that's. But we want to really discuss everybody that's actually living love is a group journey, actually looking out for other people. And we want to let them know that you're not alone in this idea, in this thought process. People who have dedicated to their family to see all their kids do what they have to do. And Darrell used the word that we actually, had a whole discussion about, but I don't know if he was there for that one, but, sacrifice. Sacrifice makes you believe like you're giving up something. Mm-hmm. An agreement makes you believe you're buying into something.
Yes.
So when we think relationships, never think sacrifice again. You are making a decision.
Yes.
They're making a decision.
Yeah.
Y'all are agreeing to do anything possible or do what's necessary to make sure y'all accomplish that goal. And it's not just about accomplishing that goal, because when we talk about faith, everybody just thinks it's the future. It's actually when you find the future, maintaining that future.
Yeah, and it's also just making sure that you're doing your part at all times and signing up for the things that you truly want to sign up for and putting your best foot forward each time. So it's you being faithful in the relationships as well, and people being faithful to you, making sure that you're putting out what you expect back.
Definitely. So before we close out, because we have 9 more minutes, I just want to leave people with this. Like, if you're committed to a faith, if you're not a truly committed person, then yeah, you see all your opportunities. But if you're a committed person, you see our opportunities. And when it comes down to it, when you actually have a house and you build a home, if you spend more time looking out the window, you're not ready to be committed. But if you spend a lot of time invested in what's in the house, you know what commitment truly is, and you know what it takes, and you know the joy, and you know for sure, absolute, what's the incentive, because you see it right in front of you on a day-to-day basis. But, Jerry, take us away.
Well, thank you for another great conversation, guys, discussion. We just have different we have different ways that we want to get the message out. Like, we have our webinars every other week. So last year we did it every week. So this year is every other Monday. for an hour, where we have these type of topics that we talk about for an hour, and anybody who wants to participate could come on Zoom, and also participate on Facebook as well. But we have a YouTube channel, we have our website, we blog, we podcast. We're up to season number 4. Season number 4 being
let's be clear.
Sorry. Let's be clear here. Yeah, I'm not being clear right now. Sorry, it just like slipped my mind. Let's be clear here. So if anybody's interested in being on the podcast for season 4, let us know. Where we redefining terms and really talk and really getting into the core of what we're all signing up for and what we truly believe. So if you guys are interested, let us know. Yeah, I mean, again, we have a Love Snob 101 on Facebook as well. So check that out, where we post daily. We have quizzes and we have blogs that we put up there. So again, we're trying to circulate the message as much as possible. We have relationship building services as well. You can check out our website for that. But we really want to make sure that everyone has the tools that they need to be in accountable relationships and be in a place where they are in successful, healthy relationships.
Definitely. Because being in accountable relationships automatically mean sharing love in relationships. Because how could you have love if you're not wanting to be accountable?
Yeah, absolutely.
So guys, think about the website for that podcast. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
I'll send it's on loveisagroup.com. I'll send it to you. I'll inbox it to you, Joe.
All right. So thanks everybody for showing up. Became a little bit early, and I know
it was like super abrupt. I was like, whoa, we're here. If anybody didn't share, please share, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Hey, blessings.